All right, we're gonna just get right into it. It's gonna be short and sweet. If you can change the way you think, you can change the way you draw. That's the tagline for these little creative trickery talks that I've been putting together. My name is Paul Richards. I'm a concept artist here in Seattle, Washington. I've been living here for about 10 years now. I work right now for a little startup company in Texas called Ruckus. That's where the little skeleton man you see on the slide in front of you is from. And they've been goodly enough to let me use him in this presentation. When people ask me what I do at like social functions, especially family and people outside our industry, to keep it simple, I like to tell them that I design people, places, and things. Sure. And that kind of keeps things simple. And I find that I'm at this point where like in our profession, we're just kind of designing one thing at a time, right? I'm designing one person at a time. I'm designing one place at a time. I'm designing one thing at a time. So it becomes what I've now called the one thing at a time problem. Anybody out here relate to that problem? The production hell problem? Yeah, let's make some noise. Ideation Workshop 2023 is the first one. So I kind of got bothered by that, right? It started to creep into my own shit. Like my sketch pages would be the same thing. It would be just, I don't know, a turtle or just a naked lady or just, fill in the blank. So rather than kind of carting out some of my old hits, I wanted to kind of get better at this. I wanted to trick myself into making my work about stuff. Because I'd accumulated all this work, it just wasn't really about anything. I don't think I'm the kind of person fully equipped to talk about narrative because I don't really feel like I'm a narrative guy. I listen to a lot of instrumental music. I like comics just for the pictures and stuff. But here we go. Oh, but Josh, our slides aren't advancing. What's the button? I have to click on it first. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now we're rolling. So here's. It's pretty loud. Oh, okay. Sorry. This is how I roll. So here's the little skelly boy, kind of all by himself. This might be like a typical start of a drawing, but it kind of doesn't mean anything until you start to put some context in, right? So this kind of cause and effect stuff starts to kind of activate the work kind of right away. And you switch up the context and it just sort of means different things. And I think it's a fun thing to kind of keep in mind. And I had been sort of doing this kind of stuff, these little situations, just to give myself more entertainment as I worked and to get myself away from just like one thing on a page. But I didn't really have a system for how to arrive at any of this stuff. I just kind of like lucked into it. I'm not one of those guys that has a vision in their minds, right? I have to kind of work it out on the page. So I came across while conducting research for this talk, this thing called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, you can see on the bottom kind of all the really basic stuff, like our bodily functions. We all began our day down here. And as we work our way up to the top, we have to satisfy these needs as we go. And then all of us here at the workshop today, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get into that kind of mid-tier thing where we start to kind of make connections and, we're meeting up with old friends we haven't seen since quarantine. And maybe we're trying to improve ourselves, improve our stations, right? And then, guys like me and, Devin, Katie Lee and Vinod and whoever else presenting, we're kind of presenters here. So that makes us feel all like self-important. And so then we get up into that kind of like status, esteem kind of space. And that feels nice because you feel like you're living out your truth. And that's kind of what the self-actualization thing that we're doing as artists, it's all about that. It's all about trying to get to the top of the pyramid, which is transcendence, where Maybe you don't even care about how well your social media posts are tracking. You don't care about what your peers think of your work. But what I like about this system is that it's non-negotiable, right? There's these dependencies, they're like links in a chain. They need to be there, or else the whole thing kind of collapses. So, it stands to reason that everybody here in this room has needs. So, it's a pretty logical leap to think that everything in our artwork would have needs as well. So, what if we started to think about our work along those lines? A distillate of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs comes in the form of the Declaration of Independence, which has here the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which I think is a nice shorthand. We want to live, we want to be free, and we want to be the best we can be. Also note here at the bottom, these guys had a little bit of trouble with the spelling on happiness, but we forgive them. I'm going to give you just kind of a glimpse. This is going to be the most like lo-fi presentation you're going to see at Ideation Workshop, because it's all stuff that I'm blundering through for your benefit and my own for the sake of this presentation. But here we have an interesting dependency chain. We've got a farmer, and that farmer is trying to nurse this kind of Jack Beanstalk kind of thing into existence. The sun shining down on it, the soil is nourishing it. And look, the farmer, well, they have a protective like headgear that they will keep the sun out of their face. They have a watering can to take care of the plant. So just in this little primitive drawing, and I know that we love to make kind of detailed, impressive drawings to show our friends, but like I just kind of want to convey how quickly you can start to get these kind of dependencies going. This image is, I'm just kind of trying to play with the idea of kind of a character that's trying to get away from an intimidating force, right? The mantises, well, they want to catch this mouse. And this mouse, well, they want to not be eaten by the mantises. And they've also got this spool of golden thread, which is sort of like, it kind of asks you questions about like, oh, what's going on with that golden thread? Is it kind of like a fairy tale kind of situation? Is the mouse trying to get it back to someone, who's going to make better use of it? One thing is attached to the other thing is attached to the other thing. So that's like 3 links in the chain. Now, maybe you're not into the golden thread. Maybe that's kind of too weird. And you want to go with more of a, like a Miss Brisby kind of thing, where she's protecting like her little mouse child, kind of ups the stakes a little bit, right? It's kind of a different thing you're doing there. And we're going to get more into how you can kind of like swap out the weak links in the chain and replace it with other things further down the line. But let's just keep going. Here we have a little menagerie up in the. We got a snake charmer who's charming a snake. That's his life, and he performs on the streets, and he's kind of he needs to eat, so he's doing it for money. And what's the snake charmer without the flute? And what's the snake charmer without the snake? Snake needs the snake charmer. The people gathering around, they're entertained. It's a whole little economy set up. The solicitor in the middle, he's just door-to-door salesman type. He's got to eat. He's got to put money on the table. And this is kind of a cranky recipient. We all know how it is to be visited by these people, and not so happy about that. And then the final picture I just thought was funny. Only 2 links in that chain. Here I have, sometimes I don't want to do backgrounds, right? So I want to just do like a little vignette, kind of like you see, like a little spot illustration. And here we got the bottom of the pyramid kind of stuff, right? It's you're preening, you're getting clean. Everybody can relate to that. Everybody likes a happy little, rubber duck, and it looks like a good time. Pens on the water to get clean. Happy duck is there to like keep her company, and it's good times. Over on the other side, we have someone who's like living in the lap of luxury. Maybe they're kind of full of themselves, and they've got all their finery around, and they're supported by all their nice furniture, nice little cats hanging out. If you're going to ship champagne by the fire, you might like to have a nice little light source handy to read your book or whatever. All these things again connected. A very common form of image that we're used to seeing in entertainment art from the likes of like Frazetta and all these people, or what I call the versus image. It's very easy, right? Because it's just like big thing facing off against small thing. The opposing force and the underdog kind of deal. And a few more examples of that kind of thing, where it's like somebody versus somebody else, and always seems to go over pretty well. Versus images continuing, like the unknown, right? The flickering eyes, the person exploring the catacombs with their torch, or the grave robbers getting into some shit and needing to get the fuck out of there, kind of taking that idea to kind of a bigger place, because you can always go bigger, like it's the crazy force bearing down on our like unlikely figures in kind of a Scooby-Doo type scenario, and maybe they're all kind of like trying to get some like loot from these graves, man, and then they're messing with forces that are beyond their power. This was kind of a little fun image that kind of represents the same kind of thing. You got little kitty hiding underneath a parked car in sort of a residential area from these weird kind of blobby looking dudes that are kind of out to get it, just evasion types. So the kinds of images that occur to you, I feel are very kind of they tell you where your head's at. And as I was doing these sketches over the course, I don't know how many months, I was noticing a lot of images of people running from things, or people hiding, or feeling threatened by stuff. So these kinds of sort of dependency exercises have a way of sort of revealing over time, where you sit in that kind of hierarchy. The most common and basic tool link that I find myself doing, just for the sake of, well, I've drawn a thing and now I have to like relate it to something else, and its eyeballs are facing off in a certain direction. Well, I'll put some little butterfly or some little winged, floating thing in its path to kind of connect the chain. It's over time I've kind of worked out that this is sort of a lazy thing to do, and it doesn't, there could stand to be more links in the chain, right? We're going to get to that later. Another noticing, reacting to kind of deal, just the free floating thing in space. We're drawn to stuff. We're interested in the world around us, and we're like scanners. We're seekers. This was kind of a deal that I thought was kind of neat, where it's like fish washes up on the side of the shoreline here, and it's a beach, and it wants to get back into the water. And these people here want to help it. They're drawn to it. They're trying to see if it's okay. They're just kind of converging around it. Much more interesting than just a fish by itself. Much more interesting than just a people with parasols by themselves. Greater than the sum of their parts. We have also images of kind of being without. We have a really lonely image here up at the top left, where somebody looks to be looking over kind of like perhaps a photograph of a loved one, someone that they're pining for, maybe someone who's gone, and the isolation. Sometimes it's not what you have; it's what you don't have and what you really want. But it's still kind of an image about dependencies. In the center, we have the recipient of a beautiful flower, and then somebody who's not the recipient of that beautiful flower, and what that might feel like. I believe that drawing just started with the flower by itself, and then the flower hovering by itself. Well, it needs a hand to grasp it, and then a beautiful flower needs somebody to appreciate it, someone to be into its aromatic qualities. But then just to amp it, that extra character insert to show, maybe jealousy, maybe somebody else wanted that flower, unrequited love. Unhappy baby, deals with death for the first time. Fish out of water. Poor little bunny, not getting the carrots desired. Gloating, more powerful bunny, getting what the other bunny isn't. This is another drawing that I'm pretty sure just started off as just some kind of weird, messed up fish thing, that I just wanted to draw. But then, you put another one in the background, and then, hey, all of a sudden, you got the makings of a scene. You got the far away guy, you got the near guy. And I've been spending a lot of time at plant nurseries with my wife, Lena, who's here tonight. And so I've got all this imagery in my head recently of, going to these places looking for plants. And so that's kind of where this image came from. It's a commerce, right? Product consumption. We've probably all of us done it today, where it's like whenever you can show a good or a service happening in an image, you've just introduced a supply chain. Someone wanted to sell you that product, you wanted to buy that product. Easy peasy. Two images of evasion, two images of kind of hiding out, images of being pursued maybe by like a kind of a prison escape type scenario where protagonist and their little animal is hiding inside of a cave just out of sight, and someone is sick, their weird alien hounds on them and is tracking them across some kind of weird Martian landscape. Home and hearth, the warm crackling fire would be just about perfect as subject matter. It would be pretty good standalone. Here's somebody sleeping, kind of cuddled up next to the fire. Here's somebody warming themselves. Could have shown them taking a bite of a lamb chop or something, but then they've got their big Totoro friend who's like chilling out, guarding the campsite. And it's better to do everything with friends. I hope that everybody who came to the workshop today had some like good driving buddies and people that came with them to kind of like make the journey better. Going up in that hierarchy, right, up to community, fellowship, and then how about being out in nature? That's fun for everybody. We like to get back to nature. We like to connect with the great outdoors and stuff. So you put plants in there, and then suddenly everybody's happy. Just a simple image of vanity and potential gentleman callers at the window. She's dependent upon the mirror to see her own visage. She's got her nice little cat on the floor hanging out with her, and then all these creepy dudes looking in. And she's got little accoutrements too. She's got her perfume over here and her makeup thing. This image, this guy with his little Raiden hat, he's feeding the fish. Maybe he's getting a break from the big city, all the pollution or whatever, and the fish are all too happy to scarf it up. Oh yeah, he's got his little fish that he's caught there on the dock at the side there. He's dependent on his tool as well to get fishing. He's got to bring his rod and reel out there. Some compositions just kind of occur. You draw a scene that's kind of like a mini feud kind of situation, where like up at top left we got just some kind of panhandler, unfortunate type dude who's about to be confronted by what look like kind of like guards or authority figures, and he's going to have to explain himself. Kind of a prophet on the mountain kind of thing going on in this other thing where it's maybe he's higher up the hierarchy chain. Maybe he's achieved transcendence, and everybody else is gathered around here because they want a piece of that action. And then at the bottom, people kind of congregating around some kind of mysterious urn. Kind of some missing links there, right? Like it's not really immediately apparent what they're doing. Are they praying to it? What's that guy with the incense coming into frame? What's going on with him? We're going to get into kind of how to like clean up some of these sloppy half thoughts, right? Some of these just images. So a lot of times you're going to start out with one thing, or maybe just two things, and you find out like, wait a second, this guy here that's trying to get someone's attention at the bar because maybe his drink is low. There's not maybe enough context here to know kind of, what's going on. But suddenly, you get a bartender into the mix, link number two, and, really emphasize that glass. And suddenly it's apparent, who wants what and who's being obnoxious and where the other person wishes they would just go away. And then maybe to add another link into that chain, you got to show the bartender washing a glass, doing something bartendery, right? Because she could just be a chick with a tattoo, right? You don't know who she is. She's behind the bar, but giving her that one extra link kind of completes it more. And I think that's a fascinating idea. I think like sometimes we're just like one thing away from glory. And if we just sat there and mulled it over and added that one extra link or took out that, that weak one and replaced it with something stronger, we'd have a better picture that we would like more. Same deal, right? You got two people, two forces. You got the mouse, and then there's this like magic mouse that's kind of throwing up some kind of barricade. Well, why? It becomes a little bit more interesting when you show kind of what's at stake. We add one more link in the chain and maybe another link in the terms of kind of like this like sacrificial altar and forest environment. Lets us know where they are, lets us know that this guy is kind of evil and is kind of, holding this other character at bay. And it makes the other mouse just kind of like more heroic. And he has a barrier to get through. And that's kind of like us trying to get here through traffic, like the barriers that life throws up all the time is great fodder for images. And I don't come up with the stuff from the word go, like I'll just draw an image like you see on the left, and it's kind of barren. And, birds going towards its eggs, right? Mother and children. But don't things get a little bit clearer and a little bit more interesting when you see the mother with the worm in her mouth waiting to feed it to the babies who have their mouths open like birds tend to do? I think it's like, this is a strengthening of two chain links. One of them was fine, but tweaking them like this strengthens the link and makes a better picture that we can respond to more. Here, this dude escaping kind of what looks like a narrow passageway. We don't quite have enough context for what he's going through. It looks like a pretty tight scrape, and he looks at least kind of like vaguely relieved to be escaping this cave. But in the kind of correction drawing you see over here, the stakes are higher, right? Like he's almost out. We see sunlight at the other side of the tunnel. We see vegetation. We see birds flying around. We see a relieved expression on his face and all the dirt and grime he's had to kind of go through to get to the end of the tunnel. And then what looks like the beginnings of these little tentacles that are ready to kind of pull him back down. That's maybe like 2-3 more links in the chain. Knee-jerk drawing up here at the top. Looks like we got some scientists. They're huddled around some kind of oddity. But the stakes are kind of low. They look like they're just kind of eyeballing it. The thing looks kind of weird. It's got some weird parts on it that don't quite make sense, and it's creating a lot of confusion. But if you up the level of its aggression, if you make it look like bad things are going to happen when it breaks out, these guys have cause for concern. They have cause to panic. Maybe you show kind of like an exit somewhere around. You give other clues of where they are, like, like some beakers and like science stuff. Just, taking what you had, which was kind of okay, just strengthening a little bit, creating some more, they're now dependent on that glass not breaking. Otherwise, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. Another simple drawing of somebody spilling their drink while another person kind of bumps into them, but missing context. Josh, am I too loud again? Sure. I thought I'd be like walking around for this, but this works too, I guess. Hi, everybody on Zoom. Added kind of a dance floor context to it, right? Added another link in the chain. They're not by themselves. They're, with other people enjoying some kind of like, discotheque kind of scenario, and, flashing lights, the whole bit. Some kind of ornery, lizard type people over here. But again, they're kind of sniffing the air, looking around. It's an incomplete image. Sometimes when I look at my own drawings, it's like, I feel like I just made like an incomplete sentence, like I was just kind of like, thing, and then just left it. And which, that might be nice peppered on a big sketch page where you get all this like great variety by virtue of how many like iterations you've done. You can kind of trick people into thinking that you're more clever than you are by kind of this camouflage of like idea, fragment. But, adding this, extra bit with the monkey, stereotypically eating the banana, now these guys have a reason to be. The monkey has like a reason to kind of be snide, and he gets to sit there in the tree and like chill with his like banana and just like watch what's going on down below. And it's just a little bit more links in the chain, a little bit more who doesn't enjoy a nice banana now? Nude lady at altar offering up something becomes nude lady at altar offering up blood sacrifice to smiling crazy deity. That's maybe like 2 extra links added, and suddenly it's something. Suddenly, you've crossed that line from just a lady offering up a golden chalice to kind of a more narratively robust image. And when I talk fragments, sometimes it's like I'll run off the page, or I'll have just like little crumbs of drawings sticking around that look like they could become something, but I've got heads lopped off. I've got what looks like the beginning of kind of a have-not scenario. This kid has noticed some kind of advertisement that's kind of speaking to him, but it's kind of unsure where this is all taking place. So by kind of penciling in the rest of the scene, by putting them kind of on a busy city street, and by kind of having this writ large advertisement, probably some new, sexy game console with something where we show maybe an image of the actual kid who's just like having a blast with all his friends, and it's like blowing their minds. And you maybe take it up a notch by making his little teddy bear kind of broken and shitty. So it's like a picture of what life could be like with this new joyous thing. Because again, it's like so much of our lives is kind of like it's the acquisition game. We all came here today hoping to acquire what, like knowledge, social connection. Maybe we just wanted to get out of the house, but we were all, I think, secretly wanting a little bit extra, a little bit more, either intellectually, visually, socially, what have you. Sometimes I'll have kind of incongruous elements on a page that follow off from the previous drawing, but are kind of not connected. So here I had kind of another kind of gardening style image with some mice. I don't know why it's always mice. That's another thing that I was like realizing. It's like I do a lot of mice, and I'm not even particularly good at drawing mice. Devin, you get on my case for how terrible these mice are. But it made more sense to kind of quiet down this gardener and make her kind of more part of the piece. It's like I needed to take out that one link in the chain that was kind of calling too much attention to itself by kind of being that rigid, upright, vertical, and just sort of let it kind of like merge with the image so that your eye can go through it. So here, not really like adjusting the total amount of links in the dependency chain, but swapping some stuff out, tweaking some stuff a little bit. Here's a kind of another nothing drawing over here, the top left. Like, why is this lady holding her hands up like this? Why is there a fence behind her? It's just kind of like, it's just like, I'm really pulling my pants down today and showing you my vulnerable side, right? I'm not trotting out my best work. This is all like, experimental R&D stuff. And damn it, I could do better. And we all get a second chance, with digital media, right? We can either wait for our art director to come and give us that tough love, or we can get in there, knock that image down to like 20% opacity and do our own freaking paint overs. And so, another gardening style image emerges. Well, she's really proud of her little plant. And there's some gardeners back there doing their thing, to kind of support that. And she's got her gardening tool in the other hand. You could take this now. There's enough stuff, conceptually speaking, for you to make a picture that wouldn't have people scratching their heads. Same kind of deal with this one. It kind of works. You've got kind of some sentries on the other side of the chasm, and then you've got these like beasts of of the wild. But wouldn't it be better if there was Amazon warrior maidens riding on them? It would kind of give a little bit of extra interest, but then it also kind of introduces that rider kind of like hunter dynamic where the beasts of burden, they need the riders because they take care of them. And the riders, well, they need the beasts of burden because they run faster and they're like more ferocious. And that's like a one chain link ad. And suddenly it's like, hey, now I might be onto something. This might be a picture that I might want to take forward. Happy snail, fun image by itself. I loved drawing it. I love anything with those weird googly eyes that don't quite, meet anywhere. It looks nice and dumb, but it's cool to see this guy in happy together context, like we all are right now. This is festive. Um, we're with our buddies, and like, how nice is it to come down, from a hard day and get one of these little surprise parties, where everyone's happy to see you, where everybody knows your name. Or conversely, how is it? It's cool to like get out of the big city and go like strike out on your own, man. Like find your footing in the wider world. It's kind of what we all do when we leave the nest. And those kinds of images of kind of like we're trying to like fulfill some kind of destiny. We're trying to like find ourselves. And so images like that, where you're crossing from one territory into another, literally with a sign like leaving town or whatever, kind of drive that stuff home. Here, same deal, kind of like subject approaching king, but we're not given really much clues about what the subject is doing at the foot of the king. In the middle, I have him kind of offering up something. Maybe it's a bowl of fruit, some kind of offering, and the king is, sipping on some wine again. But it doesn't really quite do the same thing as when you show the king with some kind of like edged weapon, and he's just like, the offering wasn't good enough, and then you've got this guy kind of doubled over. Kind of recasting the image. Sometimes the image, the composition, the abstraction you come up with is pleasing, but you're like sitting at the thing going, man, I composed this well. The blocking's good. It's got the balance I want, but it's just boring. So try to recast that stuff. Start swapping stuff out. Meaningless donut image. Why does Berg have floating donuts? No reason. Wasn't thinking. But image then spun into Bird Wizard School casting floating donut spell. With like other bird looking on, impressed at his sorcery, and just enough background of like kind of like, oh yeah, that's some kind of like Hogwartsy kind of place, and there's more like wizards in the background. That's like we added 1, 2, 3 more links in the chain. Suddenly, hey presto, we have a picture. Another kind of just image. It's like a guy talking to kind of a low station guy. But a nice enough composition. If you finished it up, it would probably sit pretty nice on the page. But like, why, right? Why? What's going on? All it takes, you show something shiny to this guy, and he starts freaking out. He really wants it. We're all after something, and this guy's all smug about it, right? Tells you something more about him. It's like, oh, well, for a price, this can be yours. It's like, give me the thing. Kind of a confusing image of people kind of huddled around some sort of book. They look like they're old men. It's like, it's unclear as to kind of what this book contains. Recasting the image with kind of like younger characters who are kind of like super sleuths in kind of a Nancy Drew kind of way just felt more right. And having kind of like set dressing of cobwebs and spiders, and maybe showing a little bit of kind of thunder and lightning happening outside the window, kind of it's the image felt better recast. But then you can recast the set too. You can up the stakes. Either they're in like the nondescript library, or they're in the nondescript library with all that stuff happening, with some kind of looming threat drawn really badly. One more link in the chain. Here's a prop recast, because it's like, these miners coming across this chalice. A lot of chalices in my images too, for some reason. We're gonna have to look into that. Give it some kind of remarkable attribute, or hell, recast it with something else. Time permitting, we're going to move into a portion where we're going to do some kind of like workshopping of how we can take an image that isn't quite all the way there, and replace and jigger around with things. Here's me in the kitchen trying to open a jar that is very, very tightly sealed, and kind of playing around with some of these like chain link dependencies. In order to be opening up a jar, you probably need to be in a kitchen or someplace where jars come from. Someone is in the background preparing some food. We have a cat looking on in puzzlement at why I can't get this done. Story of my life. Freddy Krueger, just kind of like posed and looking, I guess, sort of scary, goofy, becomes sort of activated once you give him something to do, once you kind of impale a human head on one of his like Freddy Krueger fingers and make like he's going to eat it. Bottom of the pyramid, survival. I want to eat. I want to not be eaten by Freddy. Images of like desire and like hellfire and brimstone, the Sermon on the Mountain, the people gathered in the presence of the shaman. Some weird alien dude at some kind of adult-oriented convention trying to cop a feel. Hobo trying to cop a feel. It's just two links in the chain, but probably I would have just stopped at one or the other. But the themes with me are pretty obvious. This image I was proud of because normally I would have just stopped with the alien giving the present to the other alien, but you give a glimpse of what's inside. There's like maybe some people passed out in there and they need oxygen, but they don't have oxygen, so they're just kind of passing out and they want to be free of the box. But this is just a touching image of a birthday gift scenario. And where you can go with all this stuff, not that I'm the best sequential artist, but like, damn it, this is kind of where I'm angling. I don't want to be a concept artist forever. I've been doing this shit for like since 1997. Where are the rest of you in 1997? It'd be really interesting to know how many of you weren't even born. And so I don't want to be trapped in this one thing at a time grind. I'm here today because I'm getting out of the hole. I don't know about the rest of you. And here we go. Putting this, she's looking into some kind of like, it's like a marketplace. And she's got her like sheep, and there's information around, and she's trying to see if she's going to get a good deal. But this guy's kind of a jerk, so she sets out. She's got her dopey sheep, and she's on her way to somewhere more palatial. So this is how you could, start to integrate ideas like this to get kind of more of that wow factor. And this image is it was something that I did on the first try, just adding stuff until I felt like I had a pretty satisfying, like my links are all here, and I didn't have to go back in Photoshop to correct myself. This guy, he's bringing something back to his nice life in the village. And he's got his dog friend, who doesn't love their animals, right? Who doesn't love their pets? Everything's better with friends. And maybe he's even got some cut flowers back here. He's going to give them to his lovely wife because she likes them. And, home and hearth and the countryside and all things that are good. Maybe, 3-4 links max. Now, I want to get into some of the people here at this workshop that understand this concept very well. We just saw a wonderful presentation from Neskane. Shout out to Neskane. I'm using images here that were from Josh's promotion for this workshop, because it's like, look, we got friends enjoying a nice meal together. Not only is it a nice meal together, but it is the most extravagant meal that you've ever seen. It has more meats and individual items than I think any of us here would ever want to comfortably draw, but it demonstrates the lengths that some people will go to drive home just like what a great experience it is to go get, Korean barbecue or wherever they're at. And here they are doing something mundane, like mundane. And these are like heroic people, by the way. I think this is kind of, I could ask them about this, but this is part of the interesting juxtaposition of like, you've got heroic people who are badass and strong in a completely mundane, this might have been you at a Wajimaya earlier today. This might have been you at, Safeway or whatever, picking out stuff for the 4th of July. And, the figure at the far right, He's got stuff that he needs. He's got his wallet and his cell phone. He's got all these things that we depend on in our modern society. We got a menu over here that tells us, what's going on. And, dressed in all these kind of really cool, slick clothes, there's products all around. You represent a product in your work, and that represents a chain right there. Again, they want to sell it to you. You want to buy it. This was a cool image I found. I'm not going to be saying the artist names out loud, but I've credited that down in the corner. That show kind of like a way of life, right? The kind of lone wolf and cub, the way of the sword, the way of the samurai. It's a narrow path. It's an aspirational path. It's somebody who's definitely kind of made their mind up about how they want to live their lives. And probably they've just probably failed a foe. And this guy has protected his little son. And so there's a dependency chain. There's a strong dependency chain. And there, he's also fixated on this butterfly. So a little link there. And, they're sitting on these plants which support their weight. Great thing said in the previous presentation from Devin and Vinod. It's like we're all slaves to gravity. So like having these guys chilling out on these like little lily pad looking things, it's cool. Just kind of like puts them in a place and gives them a place to hunker down after an arduous time killing somebody. This I thought was cool, kind of like the specter of death showing up at the deathbed of someone who's about to pass into the next realm. Classic image here. I don't know the full story, but to me, it's a versus image. These dudes down here facing off against badass skeleton golem, and then you have the stakes over here. The more kind of like demure lady, kind of like taking refuge behind the tree, kind of trying to get away from it. She's got her screed too, so she's probably learned. Anytime you involve text and symbols and stuff in your work, it's another kind of interesting thing to play with because it's another kind of a read. This image I thought was super cute and fun. A lot of products on display here, right? Someone's collection, and someone in the process of making something, like an artist making things out of clay. We're all artists in this room here. We can all appreciate, I hope, what goes into making a maquette like this, or drawing a picture. And this is a person expressing themselves and exhibiting great pride in what they're doing. It's like in Animal Crossing when you catch a fish and then they hold the fish up in front and it's like, look at this fish. I'm awesome. This I thought, by contrast, because we've seen a lot of this kind of tough, macho, vaguely sexist sometimes imagery. So I wanted to throw in some quiet stuff, right? Sometimes what you want to do is you want to get away from the hustle and bustle. You want to get on your bike, which you depend on for locomotion to get you through the countryside to this nice little place here on the pier, to this nice little house, which used to be someone's shelter. Shelter low in the hierarchy tier. You could take shade, refuge in this nice tree. It's a nice, calm, tranquil thing. Someone's finally getting a break. This is an image from my friend Toph Gorham. I went back and forth with him about this thing because I was like, hey, shouldn't there be like a thing on the other side of that bridge that he's looking at, like a little bird or like another traveler or something? And he was like, no, it doesn't, because like this guy has gone all the way down this mountain and see that like river going through? Well, that's like an impasse. He can't get across it because he's too small and the rapids are too rapidy. So the bridge is like a great discovery for him. This is like, oh, finally, I can get to the other side of the chasm. So he depends on that bridge. Wonderful recent image from Claire Wendling. Anybody in this room fans of Claire Wendling? Show of hands. Yeah. Let's get her for the next one. Fun little, image from folklore, and you got to swap out recast chain link. Claire Wendling can draw a perfectly good windmill from Windmill Dumb, I'm pretty sure. But the way that she's recast that with that pinwheel, it's kind of fun, right? It's kind of a different kind of spin on the whole Don Quixote mythos. And you've got his, friends in tow. You've got, this path leading them off to the horizon. Great stuff. You don't have to be doing super like robust imagery to get this stuff. I keep saying that, you can have these kind of fun images of togetherness with 32 less things if you want. Maybe it only takes 5 things. Maybe it only takes at max 7 things. But here we got another fun food and drink being enjoyed around a campfire. And boy, does this bird have a story to tell. And he's just got everybody's attention, and it seems pretty riveting. Dean Eagle, attractive lady looks at painting. Lecherous dudes look at attractive lady. Dependency chain, link, link, link. This I thought was kind of a cool image, kind of one of those being without, right? Here we are on the other side of a fence, of a barricade, with your little cat buddy, but your big bro, pumpkinhead, Jack Skellington dudes, well, they're older than you, they're more experienced, and they're going through their lives without you. And so one day you're going to grow up and be just like them and get to the other side of the fence. Good old Frazetta had to include a couple of these because it's classic verses. Again, very easy, really just 3 links max here. I love the fact that in the wolf image, it's not just one wolf. The wolf depends on a pack. Again, it's not negotiable. You could draw one wolf. That's kind of not how wolves work, and that's kind of not how we work either. And then again, there's the big stakes. She's taking care of her much younger and defenseless child in the dead of winter, wearing barely nothing. Fun image that I plucked from, there's a great channel on YouTube called Unsung Heroes of Illustration by this guy named Pete Beard, who goes through illustrators from antiquity up until the present. And boy, is it humbling hearing these stories of the progression of these people's careers. But I'll get into that another time. But this one just kind of had it's a fun little swap out of characters, right? You could have, Possum Man facing off against a bull, but in this world, the bull is a stag beetle, and it's just kind of fun to see that. Fun, saucy image of an artist at work appreciating the divine female. You got dude up top looking in. You've got, even that little bust is kind of like getting in on it. And she's disrobed, so all of her little clothes and like streetwear are sitting there at the side of the thing. And it's very, very relatable. Maybe some of you guys were down doing figure drawing earlier. It's like, this is kind of what, not why we do it, but it's sort of like, it's just a fun image of kind of how we sometimes depend on a sitter. And the sitter depends on us. The sitter's probably trying to make their living, or they want to get in on the creative act. They want to be part of it. And what a gift that is to give. Cool image, kind of a Lord of the Rings kind of riff. We got, Ring Wraith dude, the verses, right? The rider and the ridden. You've got, protagonist on the horse, rider and ridden. You've got, bladed, toothy nastiness facing off against an equally sharp point at great speed. Probably 3 links, maybe 4. Another great artist who's not a stranger to these kinds of, friendship images. Because taken on its own, that's a great shepherd. And those are great sheep. But doesn't it just come alive when you have the sheepdog? With, you could cover that sheepdog with your thumb mentally, and the image would still be interesting, but that's the thing that was the key link, I think, the keystone. Same with the dragon, it wasn't necessary to have the kind of like the sheepish dog at the side of the warrior maiden, but again, it kind of pluses it up. It's one more link. She's not afraid of it, but the dog kind of is. And 1 head? No. 6 heads. And then a dance is kind of like, we depend on our partners, right? It's timeless. Josh, how are we doing for time? Yeah, I'm almost done. Yeah. Okay, lost and found. We have a jacket up here. I just thought this was a funny image with a chicken, lady walking her chicken. Pets, book. Pets on a mission. Love animals, trying to get some to a place. Richard Corbin, drawing boobies. Lady doesn't want to be eaten. Zombies want to eat lady. Contrast that with happy adventure time looking friends on a trek, doing some Miyazakian exploring. Little salamanders out, sniffing the air. Could be a rock that she's sitting on. Recast that rock with a big skull, makes a better image. And you get it. I mean, like, some people are steeped at this. The animators and the storyboarders here with us tonight are no strangers to these concepts, these friendships, these dependencies. Having something specific in your heart and mind that you want to get drawn, well, that's the best case scenario. It's better to be, I guess, it's better to have the vision, right, that you're just trying to execute. But sometimes we don't have that. Sometimes instead of having ideas, we have to develop them instead. And ultimately, the way you go about your work and what you choose to do, well, that's up to you. But I hope at the very least today, I've given you kind of a tool set to attain your own version of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Thank you. Oh, and I guess I'll be back tomorrow at around 1-ish to do portfolio reviews and just kind of hang out and talk and enjoy the rest of the thing you do. I guess I want to thank all the artists that I included in my slides. I want to thank Josh Cow for hosting. Let's get a round of applause for Josh. And then, and thanks to all of you for coming and listening to me through this thing. And if you have any success with this method, I want you to write that email address you see down, and I want you to send me some of the shit that you do using this idea of dependency chains. Because I'm going to tell you, if you think like this story, which is the holy grail for all of us here, you're going to hear it a million times. This is going to be the natural result, and you're going to get it without even consciously thinking about it. So please be in touch, because nothing happens to me after these workshops, and I'd very much like to meet you and hear from you afterwards.